It's time for Boxing Day. Let's build up to the second test between India and Australia on ESPN Cricinfo Match Day. Tom Moody and Aakash Chopra are all set to join me, Rana Kapoor. Wow, I can't still imagine what went down on that last day in Adelaide. I hope Tom and Aakash have recovered. Let's start with an Australian point of view, shall we? Our first of 5 points previewing this big Boxing Day test is, Tom, that Australia, not India, Australia still have a lot of holes in their batting. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, they certainly have got some questions to be answered. There's no doubt, with the loss of David Warner through injury, that's left a massive big hole at the top of the order. From a positive point of view, Australia have backed Burns, and Burns delivered in the second innings with a half century. Wade also, I thought, batted well in that second innings, even though he's batting out of his position. And we don't know a lot about Cameron Green yet. So Cameron Green's going to have his chance to again, develop as a test cricketer. There are some certain openings in that lineup where Australia will be a little bit anxious about, but they know very well that the momentum is on their side after such a convincing win in Adelaide, and it just gives that top order a little bit more breathing space.
Yeah, what a regret, Aakash, from an Indian point of view, that this batting order wasn't tested more in the fourth innings in Adelaide. And in the likely absence of David Warner, though, India would still be telling themselves that this Australian batting lineup is not as strong or not as formidable as you'd imagine.
As a bowling unit, you need to keep reminding yourself that it is not that strong a batting lineup. There is a Manas Labuschagne, but Labuschagne also was fallible. You could see that he could get out only if he had taken those catches. And Steve Smith is one major threat. You got him out cheaply in the first game. It won't happen every time, but there is enough gaps and holes around him. So you got to be at your level best and very best. And secondly, just have that positive thoughts that you can still dent this batting lineup, because there are obvious holes. So only if you can actually exploit them.
All right. Now let's go to the toss factor. How important is it? India managed to win it in Adelaide. It didn't go well for them in the test. But at the MCG, Tom, is it expected the team should look to bat first?
Yeah, look, I would have thought so, unless we get incredibly surprised with a surface that's carrying a lot of moisture and a lot of grass. I know historically at the MCG, they've had their challenges with the drop-in surface, and there's been a little bit of uncertainty to how it's going to play. But I would be very reluctant to do anything but bat first if the toss does go in favour of you, because that come the fourth innings, your Nathan Lyon, from Australians' perspective, will come into play, and from India's perspective, ASHWIN, and depending if they play the second spinner, could also play a role.
Now, we know that as far as the numbers go, as the trend goes, Aakash, if India lose tosses in Australia, they don't win games. Now, they won the toss last time. They didn't win that one. Is their best chance to win the toss and bat first again?
The grass won't actually be that much of a concern as far as Melbourne pitch is concerned. And also the fact that last time around, it was the grassiest pitch that I had seen at outside India, to be fair, for the Boxing Day test match. And it was flat. It was dull. It was flat. Turned out to be a really slow, low surface. So grass is not going to be that much of a determining factor. I think it's the moisture. If there is surface moisture, you can't shut your eyes and say, no, it doesn't matter. We are going to be brave. Let's bat first, because one, your confidence is dented, and secondly, the fact that you could be 5 down before lunch. So if that is the case, you don't want to go down that path. So respect the conditions. But if it's say 60-40 in favor of say bowling first, I'll say bat first.
All right. Now, let's go to some individual player equations. And we're going to JASPRIT BUMRAH first up, Aakash. He has fond memories of Melbourne. We remember that from the last tour. But he had Ishant Sharma back then. He doesn't now. He had Mohammad Shami back then. And he doesn't now. So we're saying this will be BUMRAH's biggest test. Your thoughts?
It is going to be his biggest test, because you need, firstly, we all know that fast bowlers, they hunt in pairs. Now you've got a good trio going, and they were very, very good, relentless. And that also meant that BUMRAH could bowl only 4 over spells. At his best, give like say 80-90% of your of the power or the speed that you can generate in that spell, and then be done with it, come back again stronger. But dynamics might change quite radically this time around. There will be a debutant.
But Tom, while we were all in shock about India's abysmal batting performance, how big was that moment that eventually ended it, when Mohammad Shami was hit by Pat Cummins, which effectively rules India's second strike seamer out for the rest of the tournament?
That's a massive blow because it's, you know, on the back of already Ishant Sharma who's missing, and I think, you know, his miss in this bowling attack and the balance he provides is absolutely vital. So JASPRIT Bumrah has got his work cut out, and I know the Australians would have looked very carefully, not only just before this Test match, but before the start of the Test series, knowing that the Bumrah is the major threat, and they just know they need to see through the best of him and put the pressure on the rest of the attack. So I suppose the challenge for India and Rahane, the captain, is to make sure that he doesn't burn Bumrah too early. He just manages him in those dynamic spells to have an impact, and he's got to trust and back the rest of his attack to be able to build pressure without Bumrah in the attack.
Will there be a little more support in terms of two spinners potentially? So will India play both Ashwin and Jadeja at the MCG? The BCCI is teasing us with videos of Jadeja warming up and bowling in the nets, Aakash. We believe he's had an hour-long plus training sessions bowling in the nets. Should India play both of them?
See, I'm reluctant. I'm very reluctant to play 5 bowlers. If you want to play 4 bowlers and 2 spinners, 2 fast bowlers, that's also not the best combination overseas. Not in Australia. If you were to actually bowl first, you'll actually be struggling with 2 spinners on day 1. But your problem is batting. So you got bowled out for 36. Your batting has let you down. It's not your bowling. I do understand that there is no Shami, there is no Ishant, but Ishant wasn't there earlier either. So if Shami's ouster exit it means that you need to play an extra bowler, I'll be very reluctant, because the moment you play Jadeja, I'm not saying that Jadeja can't contribute. He may bowl well. He's a gun fielder. India has been dropping catches. And then he can also bat. But Vihari is at 6. So it's already brittle batting lineup. You don't know who your openers are. One of them is definitely getting dropped. We might discuss that later. Virat Kohli has gone. Somebody else has to come and bat at 4 or 5. If you now drop Vihari, you bring in someone who's a bowler first. And maybe you're changing the keeper also now to get the balance right, because you're just not confident about your 5, 6, 5, 5.5 batsmen that you're playing. So I personally am not in line with that thought. I think India should play 6 batsmen and 4 bowlers. Whether those 4 bowlers have to have 2 spinners, that's something the surface should decide.
I'm with Aakash. I just think in Test match cricket, you've got to pick your best 6 batsmen that are available, and then you build your bowling attack around the rest of the slots, depending on conditions. If conditions dictate that 2 spinners are going to be able to dominate from day 1 through to day 5, well, you pick 2. That's an absolute no-brainer. And you know that you're introducing spin very early into the contest. But to me, trying to rob Peter to pay Paul never works. Jadeja showed some really good form in white ball cricket, but we're talking a far different format than white ball cricket. Test cricket is so much different when it comes to the challenge from a batting perspective. And we've seen many players struggle with that transition, that dominate in white ball cricket. And this is specialist batsmen dominate in white ball cricket, but can't seem to be able to come to terms with the tempo and the examination that Test cricket brings. So I just think it'd be a massive mistake unless they play the 2 pace bowlers and the 2 spinners, because the conditions, dictate that.
Now, in fairness, Aakash, I get Tom's point, but Jadeja has shown improvement even in red ball cricket. If I have to simply ask you, Jadeja or Vihari, is Vihari the significantly better batsman at 6? Would you agree, or is Jadeja not as much of a downgrade?
No, I think Vihari is a significantly better batsman at number 6. He may also give you a couple of overs. Of course, not like 10% of the quality of that Jadeja brings as a bowler, but as a batsman, the pure batsman versus batsman comparison, Vihari has to be miles ahead of Ravindra Jadeja.
Let's go to our last point. Who replaces Virat Kohli? Simple as that. There are a few added strings to this now. Will they make a change at the top of the order? Will they make a change in the keeping department to strengthen the batting? There's SHUBMAN Gill, there's Rahul. Tom, how would you go?
If you're looking for a clean swap for Virat Kohli, I'd be going with Rahul, purely on the basis that he's got the experience, he's been around Test cricket, he's in form, and I think the more experience you have with the absence of your most experienced batsman is going to be absolutely vital, particularly given that you've been knocked down on the canvas and you need to come back and show some resilience in the second Test match. So Rahul to me is the obvious replacement choice. If you're looking to make other changes, which I wouldn't be personally, to the top order, it just means that Shubman Gill has to sit out at this stage, because as I said a week ago, the Prithvi Shaw decision to pick him, I don't think was the right decision. But once they've picked him, they are left with no other choice but to back him. And if they don't back him, it just shows that real inconsistency off the field, which then, more often than not, then starts to reflect with the on-field performance.
Aakash, you've written about this in detail, but what does your gut say? Will they stick with Prithvi Shaw or will they make a change?
My gut says that there is a change in the offing. I don't see Prithvi Shaw playing. There will be either Shubman Gill or KL Rahul opening the innings. And if I were to choose between the two, I'd rather go with KL Rahul, who is proven as an opener. I don't want to throw a debutant as an opener. Shubman Gill has scored runs in first-class cricket as an opener and as a batsman at number 3. But KL Rahul has got like 4 out of 5 centuries that he has scored in Test cricket, 4 of them outside Asia or outside India. As an opener, including a double, if I remember correctly, against the West Indies. So I'll actually have KL Rahul at the top, Shubman Gill in the middle order. But also bear in mind 2 more things. One, of course, you're making a lot of changes, which is not right. You're pressing the panic button. You will end up changing your opening combination thrice in 3 matches now, because whoever plays in place of Prithvi Shaw is either he's likely to get dropped, or the guy at the other end could be Mayank Agarwal, who's likely to get dropped because Rohit Sharma is coming and playing the 3rd Test match. So how many opening combinations are you going to field in the first 3 Test matches is something that they'll have to look very closely at.
All right, just one quick closing point. Rahane at 4, or doesn't matter? Tom?
Personally, I don't think it matters. I think he needs to bat where he feels most comfortable, and he can make the biggest contribution for the team.
I'll have Rahane at 4 and provide some amount of stability. It's always better to walk into the contest with 2 wickets down as opposed to 3 wickets down, because you will be able to control the proceedings a little better, is what my opinion is.
All right. Thank you very much, Aakash Chopra. Tom Moody, this should make for a cracker of a follow-up to what we saw at Adelaide. It is Boxing Day. It's the biggest occasion, you'd think, in Test match cricket at the MCG. Let's see how things go. Do join us for extended coverage of this Test match on ESPN Cricinfo Match Day.